Slope-intercept form and graphing. A parent function is the simplest function with the characteristics of a certain type of equation. The linear parent function is written as y equals x, the line y equals x, or the line f of x equals x, because we talked about y and f of x being interchangeable in our function notation. So either way, it means the parent function of a linear function, parent function of a line. Now, slope-intercept form is always going to be written as y equals m times x plus b, where my slope, which we talked about rate of change, is m, and my y-intercept is b. Now, what does this mean? The y-intercept is the place where the line crosses the y-axis. So x is 0 at this point, essentially. Now, the slope is my rate of change. Which we've already talked about. Alright, so now we're going to do some examples where we are finding the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, using our slope-intercept form, we're going to identify m and identify b. But in order to do that, we have to recall what slope-intercept form is. So y equals mx plus b. Okay, so what are the things that correspond to the m and the b? Well, here's your y's and here's your x's. So your m is going to be right there, the 5. So m equals 5. And now we need to find our b. Our b might be a little bit harder because it needs to be plus our b. Right now it says minus, so how do we change a minus to a plus? Well, essentially all we're going to do is say plus a minus. And then we have negative 2. So we could rewrite our equation as y equals 5x plus negative 2. And then we have it all matched up, and my b is negative 2. And then I can graph these points because my m is my slope, or my rate of change, so that is rise over run. And so that would equal 5 over 1. So it's over, if it's over nothing, then it just means over 1. So I cross my y-axis at negative 2. Because that's my b. And then I'm going to rise 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's at 3. And then I'm going to go over 1. Okay, and then I don't have to go any further. If I want, I can rise 5 again, and then go over 1 again. But you can just connect the 2 points at that point right there. And there's your line. Obviously, it should be a straight line, but that is the general idea. This next one, we want to identify the slope and the y-intercept and then graph it, same thing. However, this is not in slope-intercept form, so we don't know what the slope is. We have to do some math to figure that out. So what I want to do is solve for y, and then we will be in slope-intercept form. So solve for y. So what I need to do is, I'm going to rewrite, negative 2y equals 6 times the quantity 5 minus 3x. So to solve this, I need to distribute in the 6. So I get negative 2y equals 30 minus 18x. And then I divide by negative 2. And I get y equals the 18 over the negative 2 is a double negative, so it becomes 9x minus 15, because 30 divided by 2 is 15. So there is my slope-intercept form, and so my m is whatever is attached to the x, which is 9, and my b is the other number, the constant number, which is going to be negative 15. So now I can graph that, graph negative 15. So I'm going to go by 2's here. Negative 4, negative 8, negative 12, negative 14, and negative 16 there. Okay, so that means negative 15 is right here in between them. And then I'm going to go rise over run. I'll just go by 1's here. 2, 3, 4. As long as you label your axis, you're fine, and you can kind of do what you want, as long as you label them properly based on your graph situation. So I'm going to rise over run is 9 over 1. So I'm going to go up 9 and then over 1. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then over 1. And then, as I said, you can just draw a line between those 2 points. And that's your graph. Hopefully it's a straight line. Alright, now we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form, and then we're going to graph it. So same idea, except we're going to be given a different bit of information. So the first thing is we are given our slope. Well, we know slope is m and y-intercept is b. And we know my equation, y equals m times x plus b. So I just fill in the blanks. So where m is, I'm going to put negative 4 over 5. And where b is, I'm going to put 7. So y equals negative 4 over 5, because that's where my m is, times x plus my b, which is 7. So that is your slope-intercept form. Now I want to graph it. In order to graph it, I want to note that m is negative 4/5, which I already had that. And my b, where it crosses the y-axis, is 7. Alright, so I'm going to cross at 7. Because this is my y-axis, so you go up 7 on the y-axis, and then you're going to go negative 4/5. So the negative implies you're going to go down and to the right. So down and then over. So down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you can connect the 2 points. Draw your line all the way through them with arrows on the end, and that is your graph. And there is your slope-intercept form. And this next one, we are given an equation not in slope-intercept form. So we want to put it in slope-intercept form, then graph it. So the first thing I need to do, what this means is solve for y. To put in Slope-Intercept Form. Solve for y. Okay, we already did one similar to this. So we have 2y minus 6 equals 3x. So if I want to solve for y, I need to get the 6 away by adding 6. Alright, so then what we have is 2y equals 3x plus 6. And then we divide by 2. So y equals 3 over 2 x plus 3, because 6 over 2 is 3. So that is my slope-intercept form, and m is m is 3 over 2, and my b is 3. So I'm going to graph, cross my y-intercept at 3, so go up or down. And then I go rise over run, so I'm going to go up 3 and over 2. And then I just connect my points and then draw a line through them with arrows on the end, and that's my final answer. Alright, in the last example, we are given 2 points and we want to find an equation, slope-intercept form, and graph. Well, we can obviously graph it by just graphing the 2 points, so if you want, you can start there, or we can find the equation and then graph it the same way. So, in order to find the equation, we have to use the information we've learned before. We need to find m, and then we need to find b. And once we do those 2 things, then we find slope-intercept form. So it's a process. The first thing is find m. So m equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. This is from the rate of change. So this is x1, this is y1, x2, y2. So I put in what I know, and I know that my y1 is 1 minus my y2, which is negative 8, divided by my x1, which is 2, minus my x2, which is 5, giving me 1 minus a negative, changes it to plus, 8 is 9, over 2 minus 5 is a negative 3. So m equals negative 3 when you simplify. So that's the first start. And then if I look at what my slope-intercept form should look like, y equals mx plus b. So I know my m, so I say y equals negative 3x plus b. Now I need to find my b. To find b, step 2, to find b, pick a point and put it in. Now, it has to be one of the points you are given. Either one of them will work, so usually use the one with the smaller numbers, tends to be easier. So, to find my b, I'm going to pick the point 2, 1. You don't have to pick that one, that's just the one I'm going to use. So my y is 1, so I put 1 in for y, equals negative 3 times my x, which is 2, plus b. So what I've done is I've taken my x and I've put it in for the x. I've taken my y and put it in for the y. And then I have to solve. So 1 equals negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6 plus my b. So add 6 and b equals 7. So now I have m and I have b, so if I just take that b and put it in for my b up there, then my final equation is y equals negative 3 x plus my b, which we found to be 7. So that is my final answer, and then I can graph it. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then my rise over run is the negative 3. So I'm going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3, and over 1. And that's my line. Final answer. So those are your notes over slope-intercept form and how to graph it using slope-intercept form. Go through the practice problems and then you should be ready to take your quiz.